Hello and welcome to GillHB and Friends. I'm Jill Harvey-Bush, and joining me as a friend today is a woman who I just take my hat off to. Incredible, amazing what she's actually achieved. To put a little bit into context, can you imagine living on 4 hours sleep with 3 young children for at least 13 years? That's actually what my friend Katrina Gelderbloem has done. The reason being that her eldest, Clayton, was actually diagnosed as being non-verbal autistic with additional sensory processing needs. The things that Katrina and her family, and it is as a family, have done has been incredible. And the contentment that they now have is something I think a lot of people would actually envy. Not only does Katrina homeschool Clayton, but somewhere in her spare time, she writes books, she writes blogs, she's busy out in the garden, which is all part of helping Clayton. She does a lot of crochet, she crochets temperature blankets. It just goes on, as well, of course, as looking after her other 2 children. I can't do her story justice, so I'm going to let Katrina tell you her most amazing story. Katrina, lovely to talk to you. Thank you for joining me. I've been following you on Instagram for a while, and it's like I don't know the first bit of your story. It's like I've come halfway through, and you're living in Scotland, and you've moved up there with Clayton. And I mean, so much stuff I want to ask for people who haven't or followed you or know about you. You live in Scotland. You've got 3 children, one of which is Clayton, who is non-verbal autistic. Is that correct?
That is, yeah.
So how did you come to be in Scotland? Because Clayton was in school, is what I've gathered. So I'm sort of trying to fill in now by asking you questions. Where were you living? Yes, I mean,
where do we start?
Where do you start? So where's Clayton? Is he number 1, number 2, or number 3 of your children?
So Clayton is the eldest. He's 16, and then Riley is 15, and then Eliza will be 13 next month. So I had them really close together. So I had 3 under 3. So it was, very busy. And very early on, we realised that Clayton was not going to be talking. He wasn't going to be interacting. So even though he had a sibling, there was no interaction. So we kind of felt, it was a bit unfair on Riley to have a sibling that you can really play with. So then we had Eliza for Riley. So we always planned on having 4 kids and kind of like having 2 and 2, but it didn't work out like that. So it was kind of like having 3 really close, and that meant that I could spend time with Clayton and those 2 could play together. So kind of dynamic wise, it worked really well. Hard work.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Years and years and years.
But at least you get the nappy stage out of the way, all in one hit.
Well, I mean, Clayton was actually in nappy till he was 13.
Oh, of course.
So it was a very long time. So I had all 3 of them, and we used washable ones.
Yeah.
So I had all 3 of them in nappies for a very long time. So let's see. So then we moved to South Africa. We thought that we would. My husband's South African.
Ah, right. I wondered by the name, your surname. Give the clue. Okay.
Yeah.
So did you meet your husband here then in the UK?
I did, yeah. He was actually on a 2-year work visa in Cambridgeshire, which is where I'm from. And we met there, got pregnant, got married, carried on. We decided to move to South Africa. Eliza was 11 months old at this point. So she was tiny. So then the boys were like 2 and 3. So we moved over there thinking that we would give them a better life, a more outdoorsy life, going to the beach, being able to do more things like that. Didn't turn out like that, and returned home 18 months later. So then had to start looking for another house, another job. So kind of we'd set a life up here, didn't work. Moved to South Africa, set it up again there, didn't work. Came back and moved up to Scotland, and it did work.
What made you move to Scotland when you'd been, with all due respect, I love Scotland, but if you've lived around the Cambridgeshire area, to suddenly go, let's move to Scotland? What was the driver?
Well, when we came back to Cambridge, Peter's job offers were in London, in Bournemouth, or in Glasgow. Okay. So we kind of had that choice really of where we wanted to start living again, really. So even though all my family are in Cambridgeshire, for Peter to have to get on the train again and go into London every day and be doing that 2-hour commute in the morning, 2-hour commute in the evening, it was just too much for us as a family. Kind of the stress it put on him. He had to sleep. There was just no give and take anywhere. It was kind of, you'd be in bed at 10 o'clock, the kids woke up, then I would have to I was up all the time having to deal with crying kids. Peter couldn't get up because he had to get up so early. It was just
crazy.
I don't know. It didn't work. It was just such a hard dynamic, which is why we moved to South Africa in the first place. And we just didn't want to come back to that lifestyle, even though my family were all down there. The next choice for us was Glasgow. And we actually got on a plane, me, Peter, and Clayton.
Wow.
Because if Clayton didn't like somewhere, then we couldn't move. So we got on a plane, we came up here, we were viewing 5 or 6 houses, and he walked into houses and he would scream in the hallway, so we wouldn't even view them. Some he wouldn't even get out the car and go and see. And we finally came to this one house. He went in, walked around, plugged his iPad into the wall, opened a bag of crisps and sat there. And we were like, yay!
Found somewhere.
Absolutely. So we were like, okay, we found a house that he's happy in. Happened to be in a location where there was a special needs school.
Oh, brilliant.
So we knew that he was going to be sorted. There was a great school for the younger two. So Peter took the job offer in Glasgow. And that was 2013. So 10 years ago.
Wow.
So yeah, it's been a while. It's the longest place we've ever lived. We've done a lot of moving around. There was, in between Cambridge and South Africa, there was lots of other moves around because we were renting and job offers. So we were down in Reading, we were in Ely. So we moved around a lot. So this is the longest time we've stayed anywhere, even though we've actually rented 3 times here. So this is our last location.
This is what's the word, for our forever home, so to speak.
Exactly. So we actually bought this one. So after renting for so many years, this is the one we finally decided on. So we were here 2019. So 4 years we've been here now. And
you've done a huge amount to the garden. I mean, how did Clayton get into gardening? Because you say when he's not verbal and going to school, I think there was somewhere where you said you removed him from school at a certain age.
Yes, exactly. He was in a special needs school and he was there for 5 years and he just didn't cope with it. Every year I would kind of go, maybe once he's changed a different room or he's changed a different teacher or he's got just that little bit older, maybe it'll work. And after 5 years, it just didn't. He didn't cope with getting there in the morning. He didn't cope with any changes at all during his day. So if there was a teacher off sick or the swimming pool was closed and it was swim day, or it was raining, so he didn't get to go on his swing at break time. So any little thing would set him off. So he would walk out at 3 o'clock. That would be it. We would have violent, full-blown meltdowns for hours and hours. And sometimes they would go on from 3 p.m. to 3 a.m.
Wow.
And it was horrific. It was the lowest point for me, for him, and for us as a family, really. So we took him out of school.
Were you working, Katrina, while he was in school? Did you have a job? Were you, but with 3 kids and everything else, blimey.
Oh, well, yeah, by the time finally Eliza got into school, I think I had about 2 terms before we took him out. So I didn't get a chance to kind of have that break, really. But I was doing direct sales, so I was doing a lot of online work. I was working with people in Australia and America and Canada and all over Europe. So I had a huge team doing direct sales that I would do all through the night because Clayton was always awake. I gave that up and let all of that go and decided to homeschool him. So we had 1 term and then we moved. Yeah, because we moved in the February. So we literally had him for that kind of like September, August term, and then we moved here. Then moving here was just within
a game changer for
months. Yeah, I mean, even like talking about it, I can almost feel myself go, like just within a few months, just there was no noise. We were living by a train station, so there was no noise. There's no kids running around. It's just so quiet. And I think if anybody follows me on Instagram and sees any of my posts, you'll see the views that we have. And just waking up in the morning, opening the curtains and seeing those views, he's so happy.
It's
I
amazing,
just
isn't
can't
it?
believe. Yeah, I just can't believe after all this time, it was actually just trees and nature that he needed, and quiet rather than anything else. So I'd say about 3 months it took him to completely calm down. We had no tantrums, no meltdowns, nothing from then on.
Amazing.
It was incredible. My family came up and they couldn't believe how different this child was from visiting before and seeing him, and him smashing things and hitting me and rampaging around the house, to being able to sit on a swing with him for 3 hours, or be able to go to the beach with him and not have any issues. Just the change was just incredible.
And I mean, in some
So
ways, that's come about because of Peter's job, then, really choosing Glasgow and the house. And he just, Clayton had a
absolutely,
feeling.
absolutely. Yeah, Peter just, I mean, Peter is amazing. He'll just go, right, it's not working. What can we do to fix it? And, if that means packing our bags and moving 2 weeks later, that's what we do.
Yeah.
And for him, he'll look for another job and he'll just move. He's just been amazing, just doing what is needed for all of us, really.
Well, you're all in
So
it together, though, aren't you? As you say, you're
we
doing,
are, we
it's a
really
family.
are a
As you say, you don't
five.
have, I think the expression is, you don't have an autistic child, you have the autistic family group, don't you? That has to
Exactly.
deal with that day to day, and
Exactly.
the other children having to, accept it, work around it. But
Yeah.
it's their norm, isn't it? They've really not
Yeah.
known anything different, with Clayton being the older one.
Absolutely. And we've had to make sure along the way that, if it suits me and Clayton, that's great. But we also have to make sure that it suits Peter with his jobs, and it also suits the younger two. So they had to be moved to another school. But they were both very happy and they're very settled here and love it. And they're both in secondary school now. So it's been brilliant. So yeah, it's funny. I haven't spoken about this story for a very long time. And kind of speaking about it, I can feel like my heart racing. And then when I get to the point where we've actually moved to this house, I could just feel that all just drop away. And
because it's the
yeah,
pressure, it's the pressure you've had to deal with. As you say, it's a lack of sleep, it's your own child, you say, hitting you, and the frustration that you must have felt. I mean, I can only imagine what that must be like.
And homeschooling him as well, we do it every single Monday to Friday. There's no Easter holidays, there's no Christmas breaks, there's no summer holidays. We do the same routine Monday to Friday, and so he knows what he's doing. So my mornings are taken up doing that. Afternoon is a bit more flexible. Like today it's raining, so he's watching a movie in his bedroom and his sister's watching him. So it's a bit more flexible when it's on holidays, because the other two are around.
Because otherwise you have to be with him most of the time then, from what you're saying.
Yeah, I have to know where he is, what he's doing, what he's up to, what he's got into. So I still have to watch him, yes.
How did you get into the gardening then? When was it you realised it was being out in the garden that was good for him? Because he's done a horticultural course as well. I mean, I just take my hat off to you, Katrina. I'm just in awe.
He's come along fantastic with that course. But no, it started where, again, if you see any of our Instagram posts, you'll know the area that I'm talking about. And it's the bit where we've got our vertical garden, our kitchen courtyard. So that was always going to be Clayton's sensory area. We had it all fenced off. We had a gate put in. It came out from the kitchen. So the idea was that I'd be able to cook. I could put him out there, shut the gate, and so I could see him out the window. So that was always the plan. So we were going to have sands and water tables, but we started planting up herbs and lavender and all the things that he could smell and touch. So we were going to plant them up just along one side, but he got his little pots out and he was putting in the soil, he was putting in the seeds. And after a few weeks, once he found out that they were doing something, and he was watering them, and he was seeing results that just changed everything for him. And that's where it started. So that area didn't get made as a sensory area and got made into his little garden of what he wanted to grow. So there's a lot of chives because they grow so fast. He loves the chives, so we have a lot of those, and the lavender he's got involved in. So then during lockdown, Peter then done a course in permaculture with the Oregon University online. So he then studied, it must have taken him 9 months to a year of doing the course. So he done that during lockdown and then gave us instructions of what we were supposed to be doing.
Your husband, Peter, sounds amazing as well. Obviously, very pro-family, holding down a job, I presume, full-time job as well, and doing this course. I presume his work isn't in gardening or horticulture or...
No, he's in IT. He does sort of coding stuff. So he sits at the computer all day. Yeah, very different. And he does music production as well in his spare time. So we're always busy, and we always have been, the 24 usable hours in every day. That's our motto. It depends how you want to use them. And, at one point I was only using 4 of those for sleeping.
I was just saying, do you get a bit more sleep now because you're knitting blankets and you're doing it? It goes on and on.
After those 3 months of being here, Clayton went from sleeping from 4 hours. So this was when he was about 13. So I'd had 13 years
of no sleep, really.
Not sleeping. He now sleeps from 9:30 till 7:30.
Wow. I was just gonna say, wow. You can't know yourself. It's like
it's ridiculous. I still wake up at 2 a.m. and I'm still like, no, he's still asleep. What should I do now? I'll write a blog post for a few hours, then I'll go back to sleep.
So that's where you get it all done.
I haven't quite got onto his timescale yet.
But I mean, such a game changer all around, because the sleep obviously calms him down as well, because nothing worse than being tired, is there? And then not being able to cope on top of that.
Absolutely.
So with him sleeping much better, then he's able to cope a little bit more with what's going on in the day. But you no longer have a little garden. You have quite a big growing area that seems to be getting bigger and converting. Is that the reason you bought the house, for the garden, or did you? It was just coincidental. The garden came along of that sort of size that you could develop.
Well, okay, so that's a funny story as well. So
there's always one there. That's why I wanted to talk to you.
So we were in another area in Glasgow, and I had this young girl who used to come in and help me clean, just so I could, keep on top of everything. And she just happened to say to me, my mum's selling my house. You guys would love it. It's got a big garden. So I saw the house on Rightmove, came across, looked at it and said, yeah, we'll buy it. Peter hadn't even seen it. He didn't see it till the day we moved in. He just said, if you guys are happy, Clayton was happy, you liked it, fine.
Wow.
So he turns up the day we moved in and was like, wow. But it very much reminds us of Cape Town, where we were living in South Africa. Just kind of the open spaces, just being able to see more of the countryside. It's not flat, so yeah, it reminds us very much of Cape Town. So I knew that he would enjoy it anyway. So yes, that's how come we ended up here.
So by accident in some ways, and
very much by accident. We wouldn't have looked this far out. This is quite far out in the middle of pretty much nowhere, with no train lines or anything. So we wouldn't have looked this far out. We would have probably been 10 miles the other way. Yeah. So yeah, it just kind of fell into our laps, really, and it was the right price, the right time. It was just everything just slotted in for a change.
Yeah, and it is it's that calmness, isn't it? I don't know if you saw it, because I'm interested as well. I watched the program with Chris Packham where he was working. What a fantastic program to try and represent. I hope he does
more of those.
Oh, incredible! So that people have an understanding much more of what's going on, particularly for those who are, who are in normal, mainstream type school and verbal, and
Absolutely.
just incredible, you know. And I thought, what a fantastic way to represent it, and to have somebody speaking that he could choose. I think it was Ken Bruce's son could choose whose voice he thought he would sound like.
Yes.
I just thought,
Yeah.
wow, that must be incredible. And the same, it's for, I mean, you again, you're coming up with all sorts of ideas for growing things in the garden and adapting them so that Clayton can do it. Because you said, I think on one post that I commented on about, Clayton didn't have the strength in his hand, so you're doing things that he can cope with that aren't too heavy
Yes.
for him in the
Yeah,
garden.
absolutely. He's got sensory processing disorder as well, which kind of affects his motor skills, his fine motor skills. So holding a pencil, gripping, using scissors, turning bottle caps, anything like that is really difficult for him. So yeah, doing anything we can to make it adaptable. So that was probably the watering can one you commented on. So rather than holding up a watering can, we just make holes in the top of bottles, and he uses just any bottle to water with. It's just making anything I can do to make his life easier, really, is my ultimate goal, I think.
Well, the idea, as they say, isn't it, necessity is the mother of invention. I mean, you
Yeah.
plant in all sorts of things, you know, using a bed for the coal frame. I was just like, what is Katrina doing next? It's like, wow, fantastic ideas. And how to cover your drinks with bottle thing. I mean, anybody listening to this, I would absolutely recommend they come and follow you, because very much like me, I love upcycling, I love recycling, you know, use everything that I can.
It's money. That's what it comes down to.
Exactly. You know, I totally agree with you. I mean, apart from the planet, you know, I love doing the furniture stuff. People throwing out really good quality furniture. You think, well, you could upcycle that. But having said that, we happened to be in IKEA only because I needed a lamp. I refused to buy other stuff there, but I needed a lamp, so I popped in with friends coming to stay. And you know, when there are chairs for sale, like dining room chairs at £6, you think,
Wow.
how can this be? You know, anyway. Don't get me
No.
started on the
Yeah.
saving the
No,
environment.
absolutely.
But it is, I mean, you're planting in shoes, you're planting in little bags. You're just incredible where you get your ideas from. You're obviously an ideas type person that can see.
Yeah, very much. Just kind of design and stuff was always my thing at school, doing any woodwork. I probably would have gone to university to do that, but instead I done several other things, as well as running a hairdressing salon with my mom, and teaching at college, teaching hairdressing students. So yeah, I've done lots of different
It's
things.
never too late, Katrina, and I have a funny feeling this is not the end of your book by any means. There's a lot more chapters
absolutely.
to be
Well, I've
written
got
in
3
your life.
degrees under my belt. I don't think I need any more. I think that's enough spending
And
money
you've
on
written
that.
a book. You know, you've written the book.
Yeah, I've got another 7 to go. We've got a whole series of 8 planned. So I'm hoping to get the next one out next month, and then kind of every 4 months until we get the whole series out. So that's the plan. And then in the meantime, you know, when I'm awake at 2 in the morning, I'm also designing some merchandise. So I've got pillows and posters and anything that inspires me. So I've got all these nature inspired products
and they're great. When I went to look, and I just thought, oh, I don't know this website, and then realized, oh my goodness, you've got all these designs on there as well. And I'm just thinking, how does she find the time? A family of 3, most women struggle
2 in the morning,
you know, with a family of 3, let alone having, you know, a child with extra additional needs there. But how great that he was able to then study horticulture. What brought that into the picture?
Yes. So I do so much with him, and he's got himself, I can hear him running up and down stairs. He's probably like, why is mommy talking so loud? Yeah, so I've taken him through so many courses, so many maths and English courses, and everything is always on an app. So it's always kind of press buttons rather than hold pens.
Yeah.
And I just came across this one day and I thought, yeah, he can do that. Let's actually do a proper formal qualification that gives him a certificate at the end that is up on the wall, and every time he walks past I can see him looking at it because it's got his name on it. It's just, bless him, he's so proud of that. So we found this course, and it's with the Royal Caledonia Horticultural Society. So it's a great little course, and they offered it online during COVID. So before, it was only taught kind of to, I would assume, to their local people or whoever's trained to give it. So they done it online. So I done lots of Zoom calls with the people who taught it. We would submit evidence, and then they graded it, or not graded it, but they checked it to make sure it covers criteria. And that's what we done for 18 months. And he completed that one. So we've moved on to the next one. So the first one was learn and grow, and then this one's called nurture. So yeah,
I mean, it's just so lovely that he's got something that gives him self-worth, that gives him self-esteem, doesn't it? Belief in himself, Katrina, and that's down to you and his dad. It's
absolutely.
I think that gets missed.
And his siblings as well.
Absolutely.
Honestly, those two, they're just brilliant with him. They'll give him space when he needs space. They're there when he needs something. Eliza's fantastic with him. She's always out in the garden helping, supporting, and yeah, it really is a family of five doing all of this.
And do you find it easy, because you said obviously your family are down in Cambridge or in Cambridgeshire,
and Peter's family is all in South Africa. So we don't have anybody out here at all.
I was just saying, so the catch-22 there is you have nobody in terms of additional support.
Yeah.
Was it easier? This might sound like an odd question. Was it easier being where you are now because of how Clayton's behaviour is, as opposed to being in Cambridge with family support around you? If that makes sense.
Yes, it's very much easier having him in a calmer state. I would pick a calmer state over anything, unfortunately. You know, if I could move this house in this area, I say this all the time to my family, if I could move all this down to where they are, then things would be brilliant. But we couldn't afford down there now.
Yeah.
Scotland's very differently priced. We wouldn't get anything for the size of this in Cambridge. So we are here, there is flights, and we get to see family as often as we can, really.
And as families grow older, they don't see each other as much, do they? Everybody has these busy lives. And if you were in Cambridge, you wouldn't have views like that. It's way too flat.
It's so flat. God, when we drive down there, it gets to a point where all of a sudden it feels like we're coming into a box. Because it's really weird, and when I'm down there I feel suffocated now.
Isn't it funny?
Because you can't see anything. It's really odd. And then as you come up here and you see like the Cumbria, the rolling hills as you drive up the motorway, and all of a sudden everything just feels like the world's expanded. I mean, that sounds ridiculous.
No, I'm absolutely with you. We lived in Surrey, so we lived in commuter area. We lived at Weybridge in Surrey, and decided, I mean, it suited us fine at the time, but it was this kind of real feeling of claustrophobia. We're now in East Devon, in a village, on the outskirts of a village. We've got a great big garden now, and literally in the mornings I walk up the hill and I'm straight up onto the common, which is, my husband jokes,
which is where all your photos have been recently.
Yes,
beautiful. It's just so different, it really is.
And we can see the sea, so you get a view right out. Once you get up there, you can see the sea, and it's just amazing. And we're 12 minutes from the beach. A bit, I know you go paddleboarding, don't you?
We're about 20 minutes from here, so really close as well.
But it's the same. It's like that space. And when we go back towards Surrey, we kind of get along the M3, and you just kind of, I can feel my own kind of, you can feel the stress levels coming up, and people seem to be angrier and rushing here and rushing there. I was saying to my husband the other night, because I talk about you a lot to him, and I'm sure he'll start following soon. And I said, oh, look, Katrina's doing this with Clayton, and oh, look at this, and oh, look at this view out of your beautiful window, where I would just sit reading a book, And we were both commenting that we would struggle if we thought about going back to our old house, which is what in those days were called link detached. In fact, we were with our old neighbours last week, which is what brought the comment up. I said to Club, I don't think I could cope living there now, because neighbours
No.
right next door, neighbours on the other side. We had neighbours on the back overlooking us.
Yeah.
And, you know, when we go back to Weybridge, and we're like, how on earth do we live here? It's just like, get us out of here, get me back to some space.
Absolutely.
So no,
Yeah.
it doesn't sound crazy to me at all. I totally
No.
get that. It's like, let's get back down the A303 and buy
Yeah,
Stonehenge, you know, let's get
it's
back to
such a different
Devon.
feeling. And when we were
Hugely.
looking for houses to actually buy, that was our criteria, is we did not want to be overlooked. It had to be a detached house. We had to have enough space that if Clayton decided to run outside and scream, nobody was going to cause us problems.
Yeah.
It sounds ridiculous because he's so different now. But at the time, you know, neighbours would be knocking on our door. We would have police at 3 a.m. just because of the noise he was making.
Yeah.
And it's like, he's safe. Like, you can come and look. He is safe. He's just throwing himself around the bed, or he's throwing himself across the sofa, screaming and screaming and screaming.
Yeah. I mean, that's
So,
additional stress for you as well, isn't it? That's now
oh,
been removed. It's that you don't have to
absolutely.
worry about that. You haven't
Gosh.
got the neighbours that, am I upsetting them? You know, are we too loud? Are we going to get a phone
Yeah.
call, somebody knocking on the door?
Yeah, just removing all that, and then, you know, he's fine anyway. It's just typical.
Yeah.
Not causing anybody any problems here anyway.
And that's the calm, isn't it, of nature?
It is. It really is. The fact that he can, you know, go outside and he can go for a swing if he's feeling really, really stressed, and he can swing for 4 hours if he likes, and then come back in and carry on with his day. Like, even just that, he knows how to regulate himself. He knows now what he needs
Yeah.
to make himself feel better and ready to carry on, which I think when he was at school, there wasn't that opportunity for him to just go, hang on a minute, I actually can't do anything all afternoon.
Yeah.
I actually just need to go on the swing.
Yeah.
So
I need space.
just, yeah. And so I think removing the school as well as moving house, all that kind of impacted for him.
And it's that awful thing of trying to make them, and even schools, even though you've got the, you know, the SEN coordinators and all the rest of it, it's still.
And he was in a special needs school.
Right. And even that.
Yeah, there were 6 in his class. He had 2 support workers with him all day, and it still wasn't right. So yeah, so any parents out there who are listening to this, if it's not right for your child or your family, then make a change. That's what you have to do. If it doesn't work, you need to figure out a way of making it work. And it took me 2 years to make that decision. It took me 2 years to go, we'll try another year, we'll try another term, we'll try another teacher. It took me 2 years to make that decision, and I wish that I'd done it sooner.
What sort of music does he listen to? Because obviously he has his headphones, or is that just sort of noise? What music does he
Do you
love?
know what he had on last week? He had on Fraggle Rock.
Oh, wow.
That was like an 80s, I'm sure it was 80s, maybe early 90s kids program that I used to watch. He's found it on YouTube, loves it. There's all like characters that have got fluffy hair and messing around, and he's listening to that. But usually he's just listening to a movie. Not really kind of music, but he'll just be listening to a whole movie. So we have had the movie Flubber.
Okay.
We've had that playing constantly for the last maybe 5 years.
Oh.
As soon as it stops, he'll just press it back on again. So that is what is on in the background on his computer in his bedroom. That is the one that is familiar, the one that calms him down. He knows how the whole thing goes. So that's what he has on in the background.
That kind of fits as well, doesn't it? That therefore there's no surprises, there's no sudden changes in it.
Exactly. So every time he walks into his room, it's on.
Wow. Fantastic. I mean, how you just deal with that and then come up with all these ideas. Where do you get your ideas from? Like using the bed and the gardening?
I don't know. I think I'm just quite creative anyway. You know, I'll always come up with some use or something to use thing. I just don't like throwing things away. I think that's the problem. If I think I can use it somewhere, then I'll save it and use it for something else.
Yeah.
And me and Eliza have got into crocheting now, so now it's like an extra thing that I can design.
Like,
so,
you've got in your spare time.
Yeah. So if I want a cardigan now in a certain colour or shape, I can just go make it myself.
And you do the blankets, don't you? Weighted blankets as well.
No, temperature blankets.
Oh, temperature blankets.
Yeah. So I think this is the first year we've done it, and I just crochet one row every day of the highest temperature. So I have got a whole double size bedspread now for the first 6 months of the year. So I thought I might as well start a second one rather than carrying on with that one, because it's just going to be huge. So I'm going to have 2 double bedspreads that show our temperature in the area from the whole year. It's been a really fun
when you're saying you do it as a temperature blanket. Do you use different colours then? Are you using?
Yeah, so like I can't think what they are right now. So like under 0 is white, and then I goes to grey up until like 7 degrees and then changes. So I've got 5 different colours, and whatever temperature falls in whichever category, then I crochet with that colour. So it's been really interesting.
And what about Eliza and Riley? What are they into, your other two?
So Eliza loves crochet. They both do judo. Riley's really into basketball. So he's got a basketball net right outside our garage in our driveway now. He does triathlons and athletics. So anything physical.
Sporty.
Yeah, he loves it. And Eliza's she's very much like me. She's very much into design. She likes doing her drawings on her tablets. She likes not following crochet patterns and doing her own thing.
I wonder where she gets that from, Katrina.
No, I know. I know. So this summer holiday, we're only 4 or 5 weeks in. She's made 3 cardigans. She's made a double-sided pillow. She's started another project.
But it's finding the wool, etc. as well, isn't it? Because that's not the cheapest thing in the world.
It is. Well, we're vegan, so we don't use wool. It's just acrylic, so it's a lot cheper. So it's not so bad. Yeah, we're a really busy family, and yes, I think because me and Peter tend to just, there's not a spare minute or a spare half an hour. We're always doing something. So I think the kids have just realise that's how life is until they speak to other families and realise that actually it's not really how life is.
I think what you're doing and how you're living with the kids, and they're active and they're doing stuff, is going to lead to far less problems for them as they're getting older.
I hope so.
Than what I see. I don't know if you know, I'm a coach, so I do work with a mindset coach. And I do work with some teenagers, not as many now, but that's become my choice, because actually it's quite difficult when you see, when you see the kind of anxiety levels that they're at now, and, the worry and social media pressures and fears of being bullied at school and they sit on, computers the whole time. And you just think, wow, I'm so glad I am going to say I'm so glad I'm not young anymore.
There is a lot of pressure.
A huge amount of pressure. How do they cope then with, when you say you're so far out? Are they close to school themselves, or?
They walk down the end of the street and grab a bus with all the other kids in the local village, and it's kind of 15 minutes to their school. So not a walkable distance.
Their friendship groups and the clubs they belong to aren't miles away for them then, so they've still got
kind of judo and stuff is like half an hour away, so half an hour to the biggest town really, and we're just kind of little villages along the way. So we're not in the Highlands, we're not in the middle of complete nowhere, but we're out of
you're
town.
an active, and also you're an active family, because I see you go paddleboarding, and often you go early before too many crowds for Clayton,
before anybody gets there. As we're leaving, that's when people are starting to turn up, just purely because well, we want the beach to ourselves, really. So we just don't want the pressure of other people looking at us and going, well, why has he got a hat on, or why has he got headphones on, or why is there a child lying on the board while the adult's pushing him, even though the child's bigger than the adult? Yeah, I don't have any more space in my brain for
No,
that kind of
that
judgment. Not that
noise. Yeah,
I don't really see it anymore.
yeah.
I don't notice that going on anymore. But we go early enough so we don't have to even deal with it. Very much like that. Even just going to the shops with Clayton, because we're homeschooling, we only go out of hours really. So there's not many people
And
there.
that's
But
another thing I think
yeah,
that some shops have started to do, or I don't know if they still did, but before COVID, you'd hear
mm,
about some shops who did realise there were people who struggled with the noise, so would open a certain time for them.
yes, and the music's
And the
lower.
music's lower and the lights
Yeah,
aren't quite so bright. There's not the hustle and bustle going on.
yes,
And it's about
yeah.
raising awareness, isn't it? Which is why I think your account is really good. It helps raise awareness for other people who have no understanding of what it's
Thank
like to
you.
have, an autistic or a special needs child, and hopefully it makes people look at the other children rather than thinking, oh, why is that 7-8-year-old having a tantrum? Why haven't, in the old days, I'm sure some people still think it will if they had a
Yeah,
thwack, or why are the parents
yeah.
allowing that to happen?
No,
Because actually that's a
absolutely.
meltdown, and there's nothing you can do when there's a meltdown going on.
No, absolutely. And when you have a 13-year-old who's in nappies, who's in a pushchair, be it a disabled pushchair, so it does look different,
Yeah,
you still get comments of, why is there a child that is nearly as tall as you being pushed around? And,
yeah,
it's purely because he needs to be strapped in, because otherwise he'll run off.
yeah,
It's a safety thing. And, if anybody stopped me, that's what I would tell them. But yeah, I think it was really important for me to start representing the teenage, young adult autistic space, really,
yeah.
because there wasn't anything when we were coming up. You'd see under fives and it was still kind of cutie, it was, oh,
Mm,
bless him, oh,
mm.
it must be hard on you, kind of thing. And you could still pick them up and you could still tuck them under your arm and march out. it,
It's like calling
it's
it
very
a
different.
Johnny Bairstow when he did
Yeah,
the Just Stop
absolutely.
Oil,
it's,
It's known
it's
as a
very
Johnny
different when
Bairstow
you've
now. Yeah, but how do you cope when they get
yeah
older?
it's very different when you've got a child who's as tall as you, who is hitting you in the face.
Yeah.
It's
Our
it's
neighbours, we did
different.
live in Derbyshire, so moved around a bit like you. So I lived in
Hmm.
Derbyshire with my husband, and we had an adult next door, and Carol, we always used to say to Carol, because she said, he's now got stronger and taller and bigger,
Yeah,
and when he goes for it, she said, I can't fight him off anymore.
no.
So we always used to say, and we used to know when it was happening next door with the noise, and we're fine,
Hmm.
hey, my husband's a musician, so we're not complaining about the noise. When it's band practice, we're not complaining about the noise.
Yeah.
But we also had with her realizing when Michael got to such an age that she was actually quite scared, because there would be times when she'd be, pinned up, that she would bang, quite hard on the wall, and we'd know to one of us to go round
Come and help.
to come and
Yeah,
help. And it is that understanding, isn't it, of what somebody else is going through. We're so fast to judge these days without looking at, okay, what else is here going across. If I see somebody, dealing with a child who's having meltdown, I'll often go across and pick up mum shopping, or say, is there anything I can do, and that you
yeah.
realize, yeah. And that's just knowledge, isn't it? It's opening
It
yourself up
is. It is.
to knowledge.
And even just knowing that there's somebody standing behind you who will jump in
Mm,
if you really needed it.
mm,
There's been a lot of times where I've had like mums like you who have just stood behind me and just kind of said, I'm here.
yeah.
And sometimes that's all you need. That is all you need, just to know that you can just carry on.
And also it's support for you, is that people do understand, and that you're not
Hmm.
being judged in that way as
Yes,
a parent, isn't it, on that level.
absolutely.
And as he's getting older, what do you think his path will be? Will he stay into gardening? He obviously loves it.
I think so. I can't see him moving out, and I mean, we've got a big enough house for him to stay, and that was always the point, to have a big enough house so that, you know, he could actually go up onto the top floor and he could have a bedroom and a lounge and a toilet to himself if he needed it or wanted it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the idea is that he'll just be here with us doing his thing. He loves cooking, so I think we're getting more into cooking. So it becomes very much, you know, he's growing the food, he's cooking the food, so he's a real part of the house.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be yeah, absolutely. He does a few things, but not a lot of cooking. But I think he'd enjoy kind of now, as long as he's wearing gloves, I think he'd enjoy making bread and rolls, and kind of see that rising in the oven, because he loves his cakes. So yeah, there's a great future for him.
Oh,
you know,
absolutely.
Not like a future that the other two are going to have. You know, they'll go off and do their own thing and be in and out of the house. But a happy, calm future is all kind of all we wanted, really.
You know, isn't it?
Yeah.
Success.
Happy and calm. I think that is really the only two things you could ever wish for, really.
I totally agree. And when people, you know, sort of ask me, you know, what's success? I have one son, or my husband and I always say we've got one son. I mean, very lucky, he's doing very well. And my comment about success is, I see it as success that my son is happy, you know, and that he's not into drugs and he's not into drink, and he's, you know, not caused any problems or issues, you know, for us, but that he is, you know, an adult that is reasonably happy with his life, and, you know, loves his job, and he's in his dream job now. And you just think he worked hard, and you do think, actually, for me, that's what it's about, isn't it? It's happy, content, and you're showing him that he doesn't have to chase everything like you know, like we do. We don't have, I haven't got to have the best cars, and I don't have my nails done, and I don't have to do this, and
no,
you know,
absolutely,
there's way more to
and
contentment.
I'm a hairdresser, but my hair's not done.
Which I will say to people, you did double check with me, say it is just audio, isn't it?
I know. I was like, oh no.
and that's the thing, you just don't know what's going to take Clayton's interest as he gets older as well. It could be more than into the cooking. Now he's getting older and can deal, you know, with that side of it, and who knows what that then brings, and what that then brings.
He also loves decorating and DIY and hammer and nails, and so I think he's just going to be like, you know, my apprentice. And
he's going to be practical, and my God, we need those skills. And who knows what that will lead to, Katrina, with a mum and a dad that he's got. I mean, absolutely, the world in some ways is his oyster as to what he could do. You know, DIY, caking, cooking. My God, how many men can do all of that?
Well, I know. So yeah, we've got 3 very good kids. We really have. We've been really blessed.
And when do you and your husband find time for each other, or is it actually you are a family unit, and
that's we're a family unit? We have half an hour in the morning, we have breakfast together, and then we have an hour at lunch, and we have lunch together because he's still working at home. So those are kind of, you know, there are moments, and they're enough. Absolutely. Considering we had no time whatsoever for so many years, that's enough. That's it. That's, you know.
But that's also contentment, isn't it? Yes,
yeah.
It's not chasing something that says we've got to have the next expensive holiday, or the next this, or the next that.
No, I mean, we don't go on holiday. we're just really happy, just being us. I think that's the thing. All 5 of us are very happy being each of us, if that makes sense. We're all very content with what we've got. We spent, I think it was 7-8 years of doing gratitude journals with the kids, and we sat there every night as a family, and we wrote down what we were grateful for every single night for, I think it was about 6.5 years. We stopped it maybe 18 months or so ago, because we kind of got to a point where, you know, we were so in routine, we would have a conversation at night and we would do it anyway, so we didn't need to write it down. So I think giving the kids kind of that almost like a
grounding.
backbone to life. Eliza must have been, I don't know, maybe 3 when we started. So we would write down hers for her, and I would always write Clayton's in his book, and then we would read them aloud. But just giving them that kind of backbone to say, you know, things have gone on today and they may have been rubbish. And you may have had to sit in your bedroom for a few hours because Clayton was having a tantrum, or you may have been bullied at school or anything. But you can still find 3 things every day to be grateful for. Every single day you can still find them.
It's the same with clients when they'll say to me, well, what sort of things do you mean? I said, I don't know about you, but I'm grateful for tomato sauce. Go,
yeah, there's always something.
I agree. And a lovely client, unfortunately, she lost her husband through a brain tumor about 18 months ago. And she messaged me yesterday saying, I'm trying to be more like Jill and laugh at life. And she said, I'm getting there, Jill, I'm getting there. And I just said, that's it, really, is whatever comes along, it's about, yeah, I can deal with this. You know, this, what can I control? What can't I control? But what I control, we'll control, you know.
Yeah. And for so many years, kind of my philosophy was live for today and plan for tomorrow, because tomorrow was all I could look forward. I couldn't look forward any further than 24 hours. And that was it. That was, you know, it was kind of deal with today and plan for tomorrow. And that was it. And I think we've pushed all these little things into our kids, so they've kind of grown up with this whole life's pretty good, really.
That's amazing, again, because the amount of people who do not live in the present.
No.
And you're teaching yourselves and your kids, live in the present, enjoy today. How many people are constantly planning so far in advance? You know, I have clients who they're planning the holiday, and when they get on holiday, they're planning the next holiday. And I think, you're not even enjoying this holiday.
No, exactly.
And too many people, and I think you're fantastic. You could be a coach, Katrina, because that's what we're saying to people.
I've got time for that at the moment.
Is stay in the present. Don't go too far out, because look what happened with COVID. If people had gone, oh, you know, 6 months' time, in a year's time, I'm going to be here, there, or wherever. Well, that went straight up the spout, didn't it?
Yeah, I'm hoping that actually that kicked a lot of people into gear, really, to really see that life can be very short. You really can.
Yeah, it certainly can. I think that's my upbringing, because I lost my dad. My dad died just before my 6th birthday. So that was definitely proof, you know, that I am going to make sure that I live every moment of this life.
Absolutely.
And laugh as you go through. People want to follow you then, because we've been talking about your Instagram, all your designs, your book. Where can they find you? Tell me how everybody can kind of lock on to you. Where can they get your books and
I'm on
find your
Instagram.
Books?
Yeah, Instagram is where I'm probably most active. And, you know, if you message me, you're going to get a response quicker than if you go to, say, my Pinterest or my Facebook or my website or anywhere else that I am. But we are under Building a Food Forest Scotland or Katrina and Clayton. Those are the 2 places you can find us.
And that's, as you say, all your books. So just list everything for me. We've got the books that you're writing. We've got the designs, so people can from those designs, the merchandise. That's on a different website, but they can come via Instagram.
Yeah. If you go to Instagram and the bio, everything, all of my links are all in there. All the blog posts, all the DIY projects we do, everything's all on there. They're all on my blog. Yeah, that's probably the best place to find us. And if you're not on there, to go to Facebook, and all the links are on there as well. But it's more fun on Instagram because it's all videos.
And you're so good at that. You know, how did you do this? How'd you done all that?
Oh, I love doing it. You know, I always see people saying, you know, I'm burnt out. I have to take a moment. I have to take a week off because I'm burnt out with social media. I don't understand how I wake up in the morning and I just want to share something with the world. And, you know, it doesn't matter to me if people, you know, love it, like it, unfollow. I've got so much stuff that I want to share with the world. And, you know, if those people want to see it, they'll find me. They'll find us, and I would hope that they stick around enough to see what we get up to.
Well, you can see I've been sticking around since I started following you, and I'm not sure I was like, wow, this woman's amazing. Look at this family. And I suppose
we were on
because what I
Beachgrove. Did you catch us on Beachgrove?
No, I didn't see it, but I saw that you were doing part 2 of Beachgrove, didn't you?
Yeah,
You've
that
been
went
on
out
twice
last
now.
Thursday.
That's a TV program.
Yeah. That is. So BBC Beachgrove Gardens, which is kind of like Gardener's World, but it's for the Scottish gardens or the Scottish climate. So you can catch that on BBC iPlayer.
Yeah.
That will be there for the next year. So we've literally just filmed that a few weeks ago, and it went out on Thursday. So you can grab some more details and see us more in our garden, really.
And I'm sure they'll be back for another catch up because your garden changes and it's just amazing.
There's a few more booked. Yeah, there's a few more visits.
Good. I'm really pleased to hear it. Katrina, thank you so much. As I say, I just was watching you and I thought, there's more to this story. And I wanted to fill in all the gaps.
Sorry, it's taken so long.
No, I totally understand. Life is busy and I can't believe, we're in August sort of thing. And you think, where's this year going? What happened?
Crazy.
Hopefully we'll be able to catch up again. I'd love to have you back on another podcast and see how things are going. And your garden, how you're transforming that is, I mean, some people transform houses, don't they, on Instagram, which I find fascinating.
Do that as well.
When I guess
just in the middle of the garage reno at the moment.
Just amongst a few other things that you do. I know. Just squeeze that in. So some people do that, and your garden is another one to actually see it changing is phenomenal. And I'm sure in the next few years it'll be completely different. How lovely you've got your own garden now that you can do it too. And as you say, Clayton can see it changing, developing, and realizing as he gets older, that you planted those trees or you did that. Yes, that it's him. Thank you so much. I could talk to you for hours. I know.
If only you were closer. Yes. We'd be like, right, Tuesday morning, we're having coffee.
We're having coffee, have a chat. When we come to Scotland, absolutely, we'll come in your direction.
Yeah, no, that'd be lovely.
That'd be great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello to Clayton and the rest of the family, because as you say, it's a family thing, isn't it?
It is. Family unit. It very much is. Thank you for having us.
No, you're welcome. I think you'll agree with me after listening to Katrina and her family's story. Wow, what an amazing story it actually is, and how very inspirational to exist so many years on 4 hours of sleep a night. And on top of that, dealing with a very challenging, non-verbal autistic child growing up. I really am in total awe of the family and everything that they are achieving and everything that they are trying to do moving forward and raising the awareness. Can I urge you to go to Katrina's Facebook page, website, and check out the merchandise. Go to Amazon, find the book, buy their books that she's starting to write. What an incredible journey and story it is, and I can't wait to continue to follow. If you'd like to continue to see what Katrina and Clayton are up to, then particularly on Instagram, go to buildingafoodforest_Scotland, and you can follow along with their story there. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I really appreciate it. If you would like to make sure that you get every single one of my episodes, then please go to GillHB and Friends and subscribe.